Hello everyone and welcome to FSU Week on the Oxrageous podcast. After a few weeks off, I'm here back and ready to roll for our last two games, at least before the bowl game, FSU and Bama. Now, Florida State Week is always one of the best weeks of the year. It's Thanksgiving. We normally beat them, which is great. There's been a little bit of a pause on that situation, though, since Will Muschamp came to town and Tim Tebow left. But hopefully we can turn that around this year. Now, normally when I come to these podcasts, I'm ultra prepared, and I've got pages of notes that I reference here on the computer in front of me. This week I have none of that. I'm totally unprepared. I've had no time to do any notes. I did have time to interview Maheo 30, which I'll be getting to here shortly. But in terms of notes, I have absolutely none. All I have open in front of me is Gator Chatter, so I'm just going to wing it. Let's see what happens here. I've got your question thread open in front of me, and why don't we just jump into some of these questions, and I'm just going to start throwing out the first things that come to my mind. All right, Carib Gator here may ask some questions. If we get down by over 14, does Mac stick in the second string quarterback? You know, that's a good question. Last week, with Treon Harris's decline, a little worse week by week by week. The competition gets weaker and he continues to get worse somehow. A lot of people have been calling for him to get benched, and I don't blame them. It's been painful. However, I think there's absolutely zero chance, barring injury, that Coach McElwain goes to Grady. So the question is, if we get down big, will Mac put in the backup? I don't think so. I don't think that Mac feels that Grady is ready in any way, shape, or form. We are going to sink or swim with Treon Harris for the rest of the year. Carib asked another one here. Will we have to shut them out to win? I think Carib might be referencing our offense lately. Offense, if you want to call it that. I haven't bothered to look at the rankings and stats because it'd be too depressing. I would assume that we're up close to the hundreds again, like we were under the Muschamp years. However, it's a totally different feeling. I'm not comparing this team to a Muschamp team because with Coach Muschamp, it was, this is who we are. That's what he would say. I don't think Coach Mack feels this way. This is not the way we are. This is not the way he wants to be. This is not the way we're always going to be. He is stumbling and bumbling and putting together whatever he possibly can to get us through the rest of the season. The fact that we're 10-1 with all the problems we've had, we cannot block, pass, or kick, and our Gators are 10-1 is nothing short of remarkable. I think Coach Mack has SEC Coach of the Year wrapped up and perhaps National Coach of the Year coming up behind it. So, will we have to shut them out to win? I don't think so, but it's pretty likely we're going to have a low-scoring game, like a 14-10 type game. I would say 17 or 16, but that would imply that Florida is going to kick field goals, and we have no kicker. So I don't even know if we're going to. We may not even attempt extra points. You know, if we manage to score a touchdown, we should just stay in there and go for two. Carib was still not done. Who will be the player that puts the team on their back and carries us to victory? I don't know. I'll just throw a name. I'll just throw Kelvin Taylor's name out there. You know, Kelvin Taylor has had no room to run lately, especially since Harris came in and Greer left. The line has been stacked. No one respects the pass. It's been a nightmare. Yet Kelvin Taylor has been hitting the holes and running like a fool. Always keeping his legs running, moving the pile. He's really, really played hard. So, just like his dad carried us to victory in the 1997 game, I'm going to say Kelvin Taylor is going to break a run or two and have a 100-yard plus game on Saturday. Final question from Carib. Will Mac talk about selling popcorn and being 12-1 after the game instead of answering the reporter's question? I think he means 11-1 there. And the answer is probably. Mac doesn't like the press as far as he's concerned, we won. And that's all he's going to say. Hey, we won. Hey, we sold some more popcorn. So you're not going to get really any detailed answers out of Coach Mack after the game. Okay, Matthew M. Do you wish we had Driscoll right now? As bad as things have been, I don't think so. We'll stick with Treon. Are we the worst 10-1 team ever? Another question by Matthew M. It is remarkable that we're 10-1, yet no one is really that happy. I mean, that comes from needing a miracle field goal from the worst kicker in the country to beat Vanderbilt, and coming a tip ball away to losing to FAU at home. It's just not fun football right now. It's very similar to the Muschamp years. It really is, where we're eking out victories, but this is different. We're just thin in so many areas. We've got injuries. We have no offensive line. We're just trying to get through these games and scratching out anything we can. And fortunately, we've continued to scratch out victories. And even our one loss to LSU was close. We almost scratched that one out too. This team does not quit. That's why you can't count them out. Certainly can't count them out this week. But you still can't count them out against Bama. And I think Bama is the best team in the entire country. But the very fact I can say, the Gators can win that game. Will they? It's not likely. But with this team, you can't count them out. Okay, let's see what else we got. Matt M. really had a field day on this thread. I had to finally tell him to stop. The Big Claw. Do you think today was a more vanilla offense? And do you think instead of preparing properly for FAU this week, the team maybe prepared for FSU? Now, this is funny because for the last 5 years, this is what we've said when our Gators come out and play awful on offense, which started the moment Tebow left to now. They played awful a lot. And we always say, well, maybe they were looking ahead. They were holding back the playbook. And we do this week after week. They were holding back the playbook. They were holding back the playbook. So it's been kind of a running joke. Now, the Big Claw here is treating it like a serious question. I don't know if he's serious, but the answer is no. I don't think they really held back the playbook. I think we were trying to win the game, and we played awful. Back to Greer for a second. Greer's strengths were quick decision-making, quick release, the kinds of things you need when you have a turnstiles for offensive linemen. Treon holds the ball too long. He holds the ball forever. He looks at one guy and waits for him to get open. He doesn't even throw to a spot. He's late on every pass. So when you combine a bad offensive line with this style, this is the kind of disaster you're getting. Let's see. T-Gator, do you think Jimbo Fisher knows he sucks? I think I do. I do. I think he always has. He was a mediocre offensive coordinator at LSU. He comes to Florida State as the coach in waiting behind Bowden. Finally, he took over. Bowden got out of there. Jimbo takes over, and for years, the first several years, they can't even win the ACC. And the fans are calling for his head. They want him fired. We laughed at him. I thought he was a joke. Jimbo Fisher was a walking joke. And what happens is he gets Jameis Winston. He gets an elite quarterback. And suddenly when you get an elite quarterback, elite quarterbacks make crappy or average coaches look great. I mean, look at guys like Gus Malzahn and these guys. It's amazing what a quarterback can do to a coach's career. So they win all these games with Winston. Jimbo very, very smartly signs the contract extension. I mean, he couldn't sign fast enough. Give me my $40 million or whatever, because he's not worthy of it. He knew the moment Winston left, they were going to go down the tubes, which of course they are. Despite their strong recruiting, they're an average team right now at best. So I think Jimbo does know he sucks, and I hope he stays at FSU. With the tables starting to be turned, I think FSU is going to go right back to struggling to win the ACC again. Okay, NV Gator. Will we hold Cook to less than 100 yards and force them to win with the passing game? I hope so. I would assume that's going to be a focus. Now, I would assume that would have been the focus when we played LSU and Fournette, because LSU and FSU are very similar. They're a one-man crew, and yet Fournette had 180 rushing yards. But it wasn't really Fournette that beat us that day. Their quarterback, LSU's quarterback, had really the best game of his career. He's played like garbage ever since. I can't even remember FSU's quarterback name off the top of my head. That's the truth. That's how much I've been paying attention to them. I know Dalvin Cook. That's probably the only player we need to know on FSU. But of course, this is the strategy we need. We can't let Dalvin Cook get loose. Shut him down. Shut him down. Let's see what they can do. I know their quarterback. I watched him play a little bit. Now he can run a little bit. So we got to be careful not to over pursue there as well. Will we officially kick Harden to the curb and just go with the dentist? Now, this is something I was having a conversation with my dad yesterday. And I said, why don't we just use Harden for kickoffs and put the dentist in there? Harden up here is gone. Once a kicker's mentality is shot, it's almost impossible to get it back. And I wondered, after Harden had missed the 2 chip shot field goals, why we even put Harden back in to try the extra point in overtime. I mean, he was obviously gone by then, and of course Harden kicks it, about 6 inches off the ground. Why not? Why didn't we put the dentist in at that point? And my dad said, well, last we did put the dentist in once, and he blew the extra point, so he made a good point there. The dentist's 1 kick on the year is a missed extra point, so we're just in trouble. I don't know if I've ever seen. It's here. Incredibly, Florida almost certainly controls their own destiny to win a national championship. Think about that. This team, with all their problems, can't block, can't pass, can't kick, controls their destiny to win the national title. It's hilarious. So it will be interesting to see. Will Harden come out there kicking? I have no idea. I have a feeling he won't. How can you put him back out there? He's gone. He's gone up here. Do you think Treon is due for a breakout performance? I don't know what to think of Treon. I've, like almost all the Gator fans, I've lost faith. Lost faith in what he can do. And he himself almost seems to be going through the motions out there. He had no emotion. You don't see him talking to anybody. He doesn't seem to be much of a leader on the field, which was kind of his strength at the beginning of his career. And guys aren't responding to him anymore. So I don't know if he's just lost his confidence too, or what. Okay, let's move on. Questions by Go Gators. Do you believe the accomplishments of Coach Mack and this team will be forgotten due to the regression of the offense the past few weeks? No. How could you forget a 10-win season with these guys? And I think Coach Mack is going to pile up a whole cabinet full of hardware, and well-deserved. And we still got some time before we realize how good of a coach he is, but I like his mentality, and I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and I think he's going to be a good coach for us for a long time. So, no one. You got to remember, the beginning of the year, many people picked us to finish 5th in the East. USA Today had us ranked 69th in the country to start the year. So think about that and to where we are now. A couple of weeks ago, someone was asking, the pregame, the reporters asking Coach Mack, with the playoff coming up, do you feel style points? Do you feel like you have to win convincingly? I think this was maybe before Vandy. And Coach Mack just kind of smiled at her and said, we're just not that kind of team yet, which was very honest. This team is not worried about beating anyone convincingly. Let's just scratch out any kind of victory that we can. And then Coach Mack with the dead fish thing. He said he was going to take the team on a field trip to the fish market this week. I wonder if he did that, or I wonder if he's going to do that. He seems to enjoy talking to the media that way in post-game conferences. The whole fish thing, he went on and on. I don't know if there's any other coach in the whole country that would have gone on with that kind of thing. The dead fish stuff. I think the guy's hilarious. All right, with that, we're just going to take a short break. Be right back with our interview with Maheo 30. And see you then. All right, I'm here with Richard, otherwise known as Maheo 30. Richard, thanks for being on the podcast with us this week.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
First thing I always ask is tell us just a little bit about your history with the Gators.
I grew up in a Gator household. My stepdad attended the University of Florida, and he's very passionate about the Gators. And come Saturday, you can hear him screaming and yelling at the referees and at the top of his lungs, and that's what I grew up with. And and some of it's rebellion. My dad was an FSU fan. And, well, I didn't like him very much. It was the Gators. I kind of viewed myself as officially becoming a Gator in the 63-7 beating that Florida gave to South Carolina in 1995. And we went there unprepared for the weather in jeans and T-shirts, and I think it ended up being by game time with the wind chill in the 40s, and we were pouring hot chocolate on ourselves. So that's when I realized I'm a Gator. Yeah.
So you said your stepdad is a Gator and your father is a Knoll.
Yep.
That's pretty unusual.
Yeah, my dad and I watched a lot of games. I remember with him the game in I don't remember the year. We went up, was it 35-0 or something like that? We were beating Bowden, and I went to sleep and woke up, and it was tied. So it's like, and he just rubbed it in my face. That's the fun and joy of being a Gator and being with family.
Well,
all my family here, my mom and brothers and they're all Gators, diehard Gator fans.
Well, you and I are around the same age. We're only a year apart, and I know when I started watching the Gators in the late 80s, early 90s, we always dominated Georgia. Spurrier went 11-1 against Georgia, so FSU was always the biggest rival to me, not Georgia. To some of the older Gators, it's Georgia. Is that the same for you?
Same for me. FSU and Tennessee are the ones I get up for. I've never, when I got into Gators and were watching every Saturday, we were beating Georgia. For my stepdad, it was his number one is a passionate hatred for Georgia. So.
Well, out of all these years, and I can think of the last 20 years, I can remember almost every FSU game. Just talk a little about history here. You got a favorite FSU moment?
Well, for me, I guess, I don't know how many other get. For me, it was 52-20, national title. That, beating your hated rival for the national title, just kind of a sweet spot. That for me, over the years, winning when Fred Taylor's last year were not expected to win it all, and Knoll fans are left stunned. It's a pretty wonderful sight.
Yeah, 1997. Yeah, 52-20 was my 21st birthday. So that was
a great birthday present.
Yeah, that's always a day I'll never forget. Now, we went back to the Tebow years. We killed Florida State, and now the last few years, the Muschamp years, they've kind of taken the series back. Here we've got a new team, a new coach, and we've been looking forward to this game for quite a while. Yet the last several weeks, Gator football has been kind of in a tailspin and seem to be getting worse and not better. What do you think we're looking at in this week's game?
part of me wonders, I mean, saw the statistic today that FSU has scored, I believe, 6 touchdowns in their last 4 road games. They don't exactly have a big offense either. I sometimes wonder, since we clinched the East basically so early, if our team's kind of been in cruise control. And now it's the swamp, it's a night game. McElwain talking about, although it's odd, the dead fish comment, and you kind of wonder if the guys have, as young teams do, they clinched early. Now FSU's come down. Initially, I think we were 3-point favorites, but I think FSU's favored it now. I can see McElwain playing that up, and I think our defense will be ready, and guys will be good to go.
Yeah, it's also senior day, which is always emotional.
Mm-hmm.
FSU is kind of similar to LSU in that they're a one-man wrecking crew. How do we slow down Dalvin Cook? Can we slow down Dalvin Cook?
I can see FSU driving the field, but their quarterback play and the height of their receivers, they've had trouble in the red zone all year. And that's really where we shine. You get into that red zone, and they're going to have a hard time scoring, particularly with their passing game. And one of their receivers, I think, is 5'9", starting. So I can see us giving them a hard time. Cook could get 150 to 200 yards, but I just don't think they're going to do anything through the air. I really don't. Not with Hargreaves and our guys. Many of those guys probably going pro. It's just the swamp is a special place that it hadn't been in a long time. And I can see that place being very, very loud, kind of like with Ole Miss.
Well, speaking of quarterback play is our very own Treon Harris, and the way he seems to be regressing for reasons we really don't know about at this point. You think he's going to come to play on Saturday?
I hope so. I just don't think his problems are fixable in a couple of weeks. I watched Russell Wilson, who's about the same height this week, and he's hit one. I don't think height is Treon's problem. I really don't. Russell Wilson, on a number of plays, you watch him, he finds guys sitting in the pocket. I just don't think Treon, the game's moving very fast for him. In the South Carolina game, he hasn't gone over the middle much at all, but in one of his completions in the South Carolina game, Robinson lined out wide right, ran about a 10-yard crossing pattern that took a long time to develop. Treon followed him the entire way. He doesn't look anywhere else. Offensive line did a great job giving him so much time, and he's done that the whole time. He's sitting in the pocket better, but you just don't see his eyes move very much. I think that's why the tight ends have disappeared. Powell's kind of disappeared. I don't think that's something you can change. I remember Manziel made a comment a couple weeks ago that his height's a problem, and his head coach said that's not the problem. The way you see the field is. And I just think that's Treon's problem. Hopefully he grows, and with coaching, I'm just not sure. And I don't think that gets fixed in the FSU game. I think if we're going to win, it's going to be kind of like the Georgia game, where we run the ball really well.
Yeah, well, I know lately we cannot block, we cannot pass, and we cannot kick. Yet, I get the feeling you think things are going to change on Saturday and we're going to beat the Noles. You got a prediction for us?
The swamp at night, it's a special place. Now, in the McElwain era, it's just I wasn't at the Ole Miss game, but the environment people talked about. Like I said, I think we're kind of in cruise control. I really do. And I think these guys they got something to play for again. And I'm going to say 24-14 Florida.
All right.
Find a way to get some turnovers.
Yeah, 24 points. I don't think we've sniffed 24. Have we scored 24 points in the last month? Maybe it just doesn't seem like it.
I'm not sure. Treon presents some problems that I don't think can be fixed. But, I want to assure Gator fans, as I've seen, I can just picture Gator fans as curled up thinking, oh, this is the Muschamp era again. It's not. McElwain it's a different era. His problem's not coaching. He knows the problem. Quarterback situation's a mess, and he's going to have to bring in some guys to fix it.
All right, Richard, very confident, thinking that Florida's been sleepwalking since they clinched the division. We're going to find out if he's right. Richard, really appreciate you being in the podcast, and enjoy the game, man. Are you going to watch it with your dad?
Yep, I'll be watching it with family, and we'll be screaming and yelling and rooting for the Gators, and looking forward to the win.
All right, happy Thanksgiving to you, man. Take care.
You too. All right, thank you.
All right, we're back. And again, I'd like to thank Richard for joining me on the podcast. Now, Richard's take was that the Gators have been sleepwalking a bit since wrapping up the East. So he thinks it's just a matter of motivation, which is why they've looked worse and worse and worse the last few weeks. And maybe Coach Mack maybe that's what he was alluding to when he basically said there was no energy, guys need to take the governor off, that kind of thing, which leads me to believe they're not motivated. I don't know if that had something to do with winning the East so early or what, but we're going to find out really quickly on Saturday whether or not that's true. Now, it's an emotional day, it's senior day, it's a home game, the crowd's going to be rocking. If we're playing our biggest rival, if these guys can't get up for this game, they can't get up for anything. So we're going to find out in a hurry whether or not that's true. Okay, let me just wrap up, see if there's any other decent questions. Most of these are either insulting or embarrassing, but that's what Gator Chatter is all about. This is from Threat Matrix. Would this be the game to let Treon run more QB draws or design running plays in general? We don't really need to worry about him getting hurt anymore. I tell you, sports fans are cold, aren't they? Treon runs pretty well. The quarterback draws that's maybe the only plays that have really worked well the last couple of weeks. And a lot of people wonder, why weren't we running more of it? It might have been because Coach Mack didn't want Treon to get hurt. But it's been effective play. I think it would be the game to let Treon run more QB draws. He's really great up the middle, and he's quick, and he's small. He's hard to catch in the open field. So, next question, MGM Gator. Why do so many morons flock to this place? And I believe he's referencing Gator Chatter on that. Just to Gator Chatter real quick, we switched software. We went from an old buggy software to new and improved software, and we've had our growing pains and crashes and lagging and freezes. We're working through them, and it's just so much better. I'm really enjoying it. But we're having more fun on the board than ever. You want great discussion on the good and bad of Gator football, come to Gator Chatter. This is the best group of people, knowledgeable group of people you'll find. So in terms of the game this week, I think we'll win. I do. I would never say we wouldn't win, at least not against FSU, but I don't know what to expect. We're going to have to play better, obviously, than we have the last couple of weeks, so they will beat us. FSU has far more talent than Vandy or FAU or South Carolina, for that matter. So we can't just show up and win this game. And this is an important game for recruiting. Coach Mack's first season, sweeping the rivalry games in his first season, that's a big deal. That'd be a really big deal. So this is such a fun game because it's Thanksgiving and you're with your family, and we've got to beat these guys. We've really got to beat these guys. We've got to take this series back. Don't think that the FSU fans don't know the tables have turned. They know. They know. And Saturday can be a great jumping off point for that. You know, if Matt can beat FSU right off the bat, we're only going to get better. We're going to be far better at this point next year than we are right now. So the future is bright. I think we're all happy about that. We complain, but we're 10-1. We're 10-1. It's great stuff. It's a lot more fun to stink and win than to stink and lose. So, thanks everybody for joining me. I must say I rather enjoyed kind of this impromptu throw stuff out kind of podcast, and maybe I should have been doing it this way the whole time. So, I appreciate you hanging in there with me. Everybody have a great week and a great Thanksgiving with your families. There's a lot to be thankful for. There's a lot in Gator football to be thankful for, and I think it's safe to say we can all be thankful for Coach Mack and what he's done for the Gators this year. So, everyone, enjoy the holiday and go Gators.